Parent-child interaction therapy, also known as PCIT, is an evidence-based treatment for young children ages 3 to about 6 years old. PCIT emphasizes on improving the quality of the parent-child relationship and changing parent-child interaction patterns. Children and their caregivers are seen together in PCIT sessions. Most of the session time is dedicated to coaching caregivers in the application of specific therapy skills. PCIT is separated into two sets of skills: CDI, Child-Directed Interaction, and PDI, Parent-Directed Interaction. In the CDI phase, parents are taught a list of do's and don'ts to use while interacting with the child. The goal of this phase is to build and increase the child's self-esteem while increasing positive social behaviors. In parent-directed interaction phase, the aim is to teach the parent to be more effective in means of disciplining the child. Parents are taught to issue clear, direct commands while providing consistent consequences for non-compliance and compliance, such as a timeout. Before PCIT begins, therapists meet with the parents alone to discuss important information about the child's history, as well as establishing treatment goals with the child's behavior. PCIT involves direct coaching. Therapists typically coach from an observation room behind a one-way mirror into the playroom. Therapists use a bug-in-the-ear system for communicating with the parents as they play with their child. The purpose of direct coaching allows the therapist to correct any misuse of skills immediately. Concluding each session, therapist and caregiver together decide which skill to focus on most during daily 5-minute home practice sessions the following week. Caregivers are encouraged to utilize the skills learned in PCIT in real-world application. Please see the following video with my first initial session with Bill, who has been having problems with his daughter experiencing behavior issues both at school and at home. Hi Bill, so this is your first time here visiting me, so what brings you in today?
Yeah, so it's my daughter Naomi. My wife and I are having really bad behavioral problems with her, both at school and at home, and we need to find some way to correct it because it's really out of hand.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the behavior issues at school.
Yeah, so at school, her grades have dropped. She's been adopted for 2 years, and her grades have dropped tremendously from where she was 2 years ago. And we go to parent-teacher conferences all the time. We constantly get notes and reports from teachers saying she got into physical fights with other students, verbal altercations. She's thrown paper at people. She's cursed at teachers and at students. She's threatened a lot of other people at school. It's just, she's even failing language arts. And that's crazy to me because I was an English major myself. And we read to her every day. We try to help her with her homework. Her mom and I work, together. So it's not a good cop, bad cop type of thing. We work together, discipline her, but it's just she doesn't want to listen to anybody.
Okay. So give me a recent example of a violent episode or incident that happened with your daughter.
Right. So at school about 2.5 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago, there was an incident where she, according to the teacher, her and a classmate got into a verbal fight, a bunch of he said, she said, and the fight got physical. My daughter did punch that other person in the face and did make them bleed from the nose. The teacher was able to stop the fight almost immediately and notified us. However, the fight then went outside after school. So this happened during third period, which is about 10 a.m., and then it brewed over after school at about 2:15, and it was a brawl from what the teachers and the attendants there said about it. It was a brawl. There was about her and probably 5 other girls that all got into fights, and it did involve this other student that she had been physical with before that, and she came home, didn't want to talk about it. She just locked herself in a room and just cursed at us like it was our fault that she got into a fight.
So she was very isolated.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I've never seen anything like it. Like, she had a look like it was like a blank stare. Like, she had no remorse over, hitting somebody, or making somebody hurt, anything like that, or any reason for the fight. She could not give us a reason why she got into this fight in the first place.
Now, have there been any violent incidents like that at home, like regarding physical aggression?
She has tried to get physical with her two other sisters. We do have two other daughters, Rhonda and myself. And she has tried to get physical. One is older, one is younger. She picked on the little one, we believe, just because of the smaller stature. But the older one did protect her from Naomi. So she has tried to pick fights with her sisters in the past.
Okay. With the changes in Naomi's behavior, has there been any other changes in her eating or her sleeping patterns?
Yeah, absolutely. We've noticed that she eats a lot less now, if at all. There are a lot of nights where she doesn't touch any of the food on her plate, or she touches very little amount. She definitely has lost weight, but it's very hard for us to force her to eat. I mean, if she really doesn't want to. And then as far as her sleeping patterns, there'll be nights where I wake up at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and her room light is on. And when I walk into her room, she's either listening to music or doing something crazy that the kids do. Usually watching cartoons on TV or something like that. But I definitely do think it's affecting her as a whole, her behavior.
Yeah. And with the lack of sleep, I mean, that can also account for her poor academics in school too. And I know that you told me that her grades were failing as well.
Right. Yeah. So her teachers definitely expressed that concern to us. So we definitely try to monitor, her sleeping patterns and whatnot.
So how does Naomi's behavior affect your relationship with your other daughters?
So it used to not affect it at all. We used to bond really well. But now I think I have a very short temper and a short fuse with them two because of how much energy my wife and I have to expend on Naomi. And I think now, for the littlest things that before I would probably laugh at, like maybe leaving the peanut butter jar open, I would probably laugh about it back then. But now, I'll probably yell at them over something so small, or leaving the bread open or something like that, or not locking both locks on the door. Just something so small that is really irrelevant. Now they're getting scolded at, and it's bad.
It seems like the environment at home has gotten really tense lately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like a lot. So how do you go describing that? I mean, you can cut it with a knife. That's how much tension there is. I mean, there's I don't think there's a moment where we're not all kind of looking behind our shoulder and seeing, who's doing something wrong at this point. And it's starting to feel like a military home, if you will. It's starting to feel very, you have to do this, this, and this. I'm not letting them be kids because of Naomi.
Okay, Bill, so I just want to speak with you a little bit about what exactly PCIT entails.
Okay.
So with PCIT, I will meet with you for 12 weekly sessions with Naomi. This first session was just a way for me to get as much information as I could, and also to explain to you what exactly the whole method and the whole treatment of PCIT is.
Okay.
So next week, I'm going to go ahead and start training you on some of the skills needed in the parent-directed interaction.
Okay.
And then after that, Naomi will be present in every single one of our sessions for you to utilize those skills. And I will be communicating with you behind a one-way mirror with a hearing device.
Oh, wow.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, actually, that sounds kind of interesting. So how does that work?
So I will give you like a little headpiece or earpiece that you will wear in your ear while you play with Naomi in a natural setting. So I have a classroom where there's like building blocks and Play-Doh and things like that.
Oh,
and
cool.
you will utilize those skills to kind of praise her into whichever she's doing right. And if she's doing anything wrong, then we'll also work on that. So we'll kind of work on the do's and don'ts of playing together.
Okay, so is this something that's tailored specifically to Naomi? or like to her age, or do you kind of have like a set rubric that you take everyone through?
Yeah, so there is a set rubric that I will take you through.
Okay.
And this is catered to you and Naomi's relationship, so not just her.
Okay. Okay, good. that was my biggest worry. Okay.
Mm-hmm. PCIT skills involve positive parenting,
Okay.
which basically means that we aren't focused on scolding her when she is doing something wrong, but we are more focused on praising her when she is doing something right.
Okay.
Okay, so with PCIT, they use something called PRIDE, which stands for praise, reflect, imitate, describe, and enthusiasm.
Oh, wow.
So those are some of the things, So those are some of the things that we're going to go ahead and discuss, and we'll talk about that as well.
Okay, looking forward to it.
So tell me a little bit about the treatment goals that you want to meet with your daughter.
Right, so ultimately what we want is we want to be able to go out as a family, go to the movies, go out for a picnic, my wife and I to be able to go on date night and be able to leave, the children, with a babysitter and not have to worry about, are we going to come home to a burned down house? Ultimately, what we also want is we need the fighting to stop. We need the fighting to stop really bad because that's something that can cause her harm, obviously. We also need her to apply herself in school like we know she can because she's done it before. So, that's just kind of the headstone, if you will, of what we want, but we know her potential because we've seen it, and we know she has a lot more to offer than what she's offering now.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell me a little bit about what you know about PCIT.
So, truth be told, not really much. I have Googled it a little bit and, try to play a little detective work, if you will, but the school psychologist referred us to you and said that you would be able to help us out with her problem.
Okay. Now, for next week, we're going to actually start on some of the skill set for the therapy. This week, we were just kind of meeting to make sure that I knew about the history of your daughter.
Okay.
So I would really appreciate it if next week you brought in her case file so I can review that as well. And then we will go ahead and see you next week to go ahead and start the skill set of the first phase.
Sounds great.